I'm Joe Dunleavy from Andava, and I'm delighted to be joined today by my colleague Richard Pugh, and we're going to talk about AI and the impact of it from a people perspective. So just kicking things off, I would love your thoughts on how you see it, artificial intelligence being able to help people. What's some of the benefits, I suppose, that people can get from it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth kind of thinking about that from probably two different perspectives, kind of business, if you like, and society, I think, perhaps. From a business perspective first then, I kind of already see the beginnings of this with the co-piloting approach. So I see lots of organizations who are starting to enable their people to leverage new tools from places like Microsoft and so on, where you're looking at helping people to kind of automate tasks and so on. So I've seen the start of that. And I'm just seeing the sort of move from that into more process level engineering and innovation, where you've got that real tandem between, you know, humans and AI and the human in the loop model and so on, where we can start to, I guess, fundamentally put humans in the best position to succeed, right? Yeah. So to make that great decision, to see that insight they may not otherwise have spotted, to really kind of be able to engage with customers and so on. So I think from a business perspective, I think there's a huge help in terms of that augmented. And of course, beyond that, there's obviously the autonomous processes that maybe we can get into a little bit. But I think that human support piece is great. And I think, in terms of the benefits from a societal perspective, they're huge, right? I think that you see support for sort of the moonshot challenges of our generation, so climate, huge advances in healthcare, lifestyle, productivity. I think there's a lot to be excited about right now.
Is there any one standout example you'd have that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think I've seen lots of great examples in business where AI has helped. I think decision intelligence is a really good area. I think if you take something as simple as right price, right, which kind of resonates across all sorts of industries, right? I think that everyone understands there is an exact right price in every scenario, in order to drive some outcome that you want. And I think that pursuit of the exact right, if you like, is something that AI is helping with. And I've seen a lot of really great examples in that space. But I'll use an example which is from the insurance industry, if I may, which was a really exciting example. So we worked with an insurer, and the process they were trying to look at was a process where they would get messages, emails from customers saying, hey, I've got this insurance quote, can you beat it? And it would usually have an attachment, right? So, and then it would be a very human process. They would open the email, understand the email, they would open the attachment, understand the attachment, they would take the details from the email, feed it into their own price engine, if you like, to get a quote, draft an email back and respond and say, hey, we can beat your quote, here it is. And the challenge really was a big one, which was, can you automate the entire process, so end to end? Right. So there's a lot in that, right? So there's a lot of intelligence, understanding, decision making, and so this is not just your RPA approach. This is more, this is intelligence, right? So and we did. We engineered a solution, and when we first deployed the solution, the success rate in terms of how many times, what percentage of time that we went end to end was 8%. Right? And there might be people right now kind of stopping the video and going, well, 8% is terrible, right? So, but I think it was interesting from two perspectives. One was that's 8% of costs gone overnight, right? Which was incredible. But the clever bit about the example, and the reason I like it is, when the AI wasn't able to complete, so there's 92% of the times when AI wasn't able to fulfill the end-to-end process, it went to a human process, and then we tracked the inputs and the outputs to that process. And that was fed back into the model dynamically so it could improve. And so it went from 8% initially to 26, 27%, and it's still on the rise. So that idea of structuring these things as learning processes, if you like, that are going to improve over time, I think are a great lesson for us and a great way forward. And I think that's a great example of that kind of like augmented human and AI process, if you like.
It's a great point. You mentioned time, and so just, fast forwarding, let's say 5 or 6 years from now, putting yourself out there in terms of, some predictions or whatever, but what's your feeling on it, right? I mean, it's such a fast moving pace. We're seeing a lot from 1 month to the next, but 5, 6 years from now, what's AI doing? If you can paint that picture for us, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I tell you what, if we can answer that one, then I know, I think we'll be very, very, very rich. But generally, look, I think the first thing is, the problem is time, right? I mean, 5 years, 6 years, it's very hard to pick a point and go, I can write a strategy or have some plan that's going to take 5 years to implement and so on, because all you know is by the time you get there, things will have moved, right? Because if you look at the way in which particularly generative AI right now is changing, the leaderboards for some of these models are changing all the time, right? And sometimes leaps forward. So let's think about what we do know, right? I think the first thing that we do know is these models are going to get better. The generative AI models right now are like toddlers walking around with crayons, kind of writing on stuff, right? These are going to get better and better and better. So we have to prepare for that advancement and that success. The other things that we know are, anything that can be automated will be automated, right? I think we know that because just market pressures and cost will drive that conversation. There'll be big focus on, decision science, if you like, and actually getting sharper and sharper. There'll be new entrants to markets that are enabled by, AI enabled from day one, essentially. So we know there's a lot of things that will change. So what does the future look like? It's very difficult to know right now, but I think from a business perspective, I think I can see really lean, really sharp, maybe kind of very specialized companies who are focused on, very particular outputs. And from a societal perspective, who knows, right? But I think that, all we know right now is that society is going to change drastically, and that's a conversation for governments and so on. But I think that clearly we need to make sure that the benefits of AI are going to be felt by society at large, if you like.
So companies will have, there's a lot of change even for companies in the adoption of this technology. You mentioned generative AI, you're even starting to see specialization in generative AI for certain industries. So if you're a company, how would what are the types of things you need to be doing now, the steps you need to be taking to get you ready for this? Yep. What's coming?
I think it's a really good question, because I think that the thing that you don't do right now, and I think there's a trap here right now where, you're not going to go and add value in an organization by walking around with generative AI and just doing it, right? I'll do it a bit over there, or a bit, I think we've got to have really good conversations about what sort of organizations that we want to be, right? I think every business leader will understands that data and AI is going to play a significant role in the success over the coming years, right? But it's the next sentence, right? In what way? What does that then mean? In what way does AI represent an opportunity and a threat for my organization? And so for me, this is about having the right conversations. And I think one of the things I've seen really happen quite a lot right now is because of the speed of change, is that idea that people have got these flywheels set up, right? Like we create a labs environment, if you like, where we innovate new ideas. What we almost need next to it is we need a kind of so what flywheel as well, right? Which is, if we're seeing these advances, how does that help us build new businesses and support new ways of working? And I think that if we get if you like, the North Star right, the so what, what we want to actually try to achieve right, and then you've got those two pieces structured with those learning problems, like my example, that's the way forward. But it's all about creating the right environment to have the right conversation about what AI means to your future.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Really appreciate the insight, and thanks again, Richard.
Oh, thank you.